Good morning, philosophers. I'd forgotten that when you have a brand new YouTube channel with no subscribers, YouTube doesn't just let you go live and stream whenever you want. So this first video, first couple videos will not be streamed live. These will just be recorded uploads. That's fine. Most of you, I don't think, watch them live anyway, so all good. Let's continue with book 12. We might finish the book today. We'll see how it goes. We're in book 12, number 17. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Let your intention be, and then I think the translation or I think it was garbled, so we don't know what he was going to say. Let your intention be, but we can assume, justice or reverence to one's nature, something like that. Number 18. At all times, look at the thing itself, the thing behind the appearance, and unpack it by analysis. What was its cause, substance, its purpose, and length of time it exists? That's interesting. I mean, oftentimes I'm sure people think about the cause of things or what things are made of or what its purpose is. But a running theme in this book is to also think about how much longer it's going to exist. And that's a good one to take into account. Number 9. It's time you realize that you have something in you more powerful and miraculous than the things that affect you and make you dance like a puppet. What's in my thoughts at this moment? Fear, jealousy, desire, feelings like that? Number 20. To undertake nothing. 1, at random or without a purpose, or 2, for any reason but the common good. Blech. Number 21. That before long, you'll be no one and nowhere, like all the things you see now, all the people now living. Everything's destiny is to change, to be transformed, to perish, so that new things can be born. 22. It's all in how you perceive it. You're in control. You can dispense with misperception at will, like rounding the point. Serenity, total calm, safe anchorage. 23. A given action that stops when it's supposed to is none the worse for stopping, nor the person engaged in it either. So too with the succession of actions we call life. If it ends when it's supposed to, it's none the worse for that, and the person who comes to the end of the line has no cause for complaint. The time and stopping point are set by nature, The time and stopping point are set by nature, our own nature, in some cases, death from old age, or nature as a whole, whose parts, shifting and changing, constantly renew the world and keep it on schedule. Nothing that benefits all things can be ugly or out of place. The end of life is not an evil, it doesn't disgrace us. Why should we be ashamed of an involuntary act that injures no one? Well, except the person dying. It's a good thing, scheduled by the world, promoting it, promoted by it. This is how we become godlike, following God's path and reason's goals. 24. 3 things essential at all times. 1. 1A. Your own actions, that they're not arbitrary or different from what abstract justice would do. 1B. External events, that they happen randomly or by design. You can't complain about chance. You can't argue with providence. 2. What all things are like, from the planting of the seed to the quickening of life, and from its quickening to its relinquishment, where the parts came from and where they return to. 3. That if you were suddenly lifted up and could see life and its variety from a vast height, and at the same time all the things around you, in the sky and beyond it, you'd see how pointless it is. And no matter how often you saw it, it would be the same life forms, the same life span. Arrogance about this? 25. Throw out your misperceptions and you'll be fine. And who's stopping you from throwing them out? 26. To be angry at something means you've forgotten that everything that happens is natural, that the responsibility is theirs, not yours. And further, that whatever happens has always happened and always will. and is happening at this very moment everywhere, just like this. What links one human being to all humans? Not blood or birth, but mind. And that an individual's mind is God and of God. That nothing belongs to anyone. Children, body, life itself, all of them come from that same source. That it's all how you choose to see things. That the present is all we have to live in or lose. Somebody commented on one of the past ones. I don't usually read comments on these Think Time videos, but I did this time, and it was a good one. I was happy I did. He was talking about the definition of natural. What is natural? And he was surmising that they would consider steel to be natural because it was made from natural things by natural human bodies working to use natural methods to, reform or to change a natural resource. And I thought about that usage of the word natural back when I was making that reading in that video, and I sort of rejected it. Perhaps improperly. Maybe that's how they did think about it. But I tend to not like definitions of words that are so overly broad that the word itself becomes sort of superfluous or meaningless. So, like, if natural means everything in reality, like something that is real, something that exists, if that's what natural means, then there's nothing unnatural. Nothing that we know of. There's no evidence to show that we know of anything unnatural. Everything's natural. So why have the word natural? We should just say everything exists. It's something that is real. Natural kind of loses its potency or loses its differentiation. I think most people, when they think natural, they think non-man-made, made by non-agent processes. So like the difference between a diamond you mine out of the ground versus a diamond made in a laboratory, or like the fake diamonds they use for construction that are created by man. Those would be called sort of artificial as opposed to natural. And so, used in that way, the word natural and unnatural actually has meaning. It has a usefulness to it. But if we define natural to mean anything that is real, anything that exists, then what good is it? We have other words for that already. But that was not the topic of his comment. The comment was that I think he suspects that is how Marcus Aurelius might be using the word natural, which he might actually be correct. It is impossible to read a book without part of what you're reading actually being yourself. Like when you read a book, you are in part reading that which you have subconsciously projected onto the book from yourself. So it's like you become part of whatever you're reading, and you got to watch out for that. So, good comment. Number 27. Constantly run down the list of those who felt intense anger at something. The most famous, the most unfortunate, the most hated, the most whatever. And ask, where is all that now? Smoke, dust, legend, or not even a legend. Think of all the examples. Fabius Catilinus in the country. Here we go. Lucius Lupus in the orchard. Stertinitius at Baiae. Tiberius on Capri. Velius Rufus. Obsession and arrogance. And how trivial the things we want so passionately are, and how much more philosophical it would be to take what we're given and show uprightness, self-control, obedience to God, without making a production of it. There's nothing more insufferable than people who boast about their own humility. 28. People ask, quote, have you ever seen the gods you worship? How can you be sure they exist? Answers, just look around you. I've never seen my soul either, and yet I revere it. Well, argument from incredulity. That's how I know the gods exist and why I revere them, from having felt their power over and over. 29. Salvation, to see each thing for what it is, its nature and its purpose. To do only what is right, say only what is true, without holding back. What else could it be but to live life fully, to pay out goodness like the rings of a chain without the slightest gap? 30. Singular, not plural. Sunlight. Though broken up by walls and mountains and 1,000 other things. Substance. Though split into 1,000 forms variously shaped. Life. Though distributed among 1,000 different natures with their individual limitations. Intelligence, even if it seems to be divided. The other components, breath, matter, lack any awareness or connection to one another, yet unity and its gravitational pull embrace them too. But intelligence is uniquely drawn toward what is akin to it, and joins with it inseparably in shared awareness. 31. Coffee. What is it you want? To keep on breathing? What about feeling, desiring, growing, ceasing to grow, using your voice, thinking? Which of them seems worth having? But if you can do without them all, then continue to follow the Logos and God, to the end. To prize those other things, to grieve because death deprives us of them, is an obstacle. 32. The fraction of infinity of that vast abyss of time allotted to each of us, absorbed in an instant into eternity. The fraction of all substance and all spirit, the fraction of the whole earth you crawl about on. Keep all that in mind and don't treat anything as important except doing what your nature demands and accepting what nature sends you. 33. How the mind conducts itself, it all depends on that. All the rest is within its power or beyond its control, corpses and smoke. 34. An incentive to treat death as unimportant. Even people whose own morality is pain and pleasure can manage that much. He's talking about the Epicureans, who we should maybe that'll be the next one we read. Epicurus was, so at the time of Stoicism, was at its height, back in, ancient times. There was another philosophy that was existing at the same time that was about as popular, called Epicureanism. And there was a school, Epicurus created his own philosophy school near Plato's. And so I think this is a reference to that. Let me read it again. 34. An incentive to treat death as unimportant. Even people whose only morality is pain and pleasure can manage that much. 35. If you make ripeness alone your good, if a few actions more or less governed by the right logos are merely a few more or less, if it makes no difference whether you look at the world for this long or that long, then death shouldn't scare you. 36. And this is the last one. You've lived as a citizen in a great city. 5 years or 100, what's the difference? The laws make no distinction. And to be sent away from it, not by a tyrant or a dishonest judge, but by nature, who first invited you in, why is that so terrible? Like the impresario ringing down the curtain on an actor. Quote, but I've only gotten through 3 acts. Yes, this will be a drama in 3 acts. The length fixed by the power that directed your creation, and now directs your dissolution, neither was yours to determine. So make your exit with grace, the same grace shown to you. And the rest are notes and an index of all the people referenced. Let me just quickly scan here to see if there's anything interesting. Oh wow, there's notes on a lot of the different sections of the book. Interesting. Well, all right. This concludes Marcus Aurelius's journals, known as the Meditations. I hope you guys have enjoyed this sort of season of think time. I'm not sure what we'll read tomorrow. I guess we'll find out. I have a lot of stuff highlighted and flagged and tagged in this book. And the last thing I usually do when I'm done is go back through and scan all of my highlighted and tagged stuff. So I'll probably do that later today. Oh, this is interesting. My thought for today is based on a quote from Jerry Seinfeld. Quote, "You gotta treat your brain like a dog you just got. The mind is infinite in wisdom. The brain is a stupid little dog that is easily trained. Do not confuse the mind with the brain. The brain is so easy to master. You just have to confine it. And it's done through repetition and systemization." I'm not sure about like some kind of mind-brain split. That's a thing for a lot of people, but I don't see any evidence of that. I see the mind, or I see our conscious mind as sort of the software running on the hardware of the brain. But nevertheless, the same this advice applies. Think of your brain, think of your hardware as something that you have the ability to control, and when you get it, it's just kind of stupid and it doesn't know how to control itself or pee outside. And it'll run wild, it'll run rampant, it'll go wherever it wants to go and do whatever it wants to do and chew up whatever it wants to chew up. And it will keep eating food until it dies from eating too much food, or until it pukes because it made itself sick. You know, the mind will do that stuff by default. It's your job, it's our job, it's my job to take control, take mastery of my brain, confine it away from doing things that are unhealthy. And how do we do that? With repetition, which is another way of saying repetition, and systemization, which is just another way of saying habits, which is something I need to continue working on. This is one of those never-ending fights for me. I still have some habits that do not get done every day. And I don't like that. I either need to decide that they're not worthy to be habits, or I need to actually do them every single day. The monthly goal, actually, has been a pretty interesting experience. You guys will probably remember the theme for the month is to pick one thing each day and do that thing like it's the last thing I'll do in my life. This will hopefully allow me to improve on my focus and my concentration, my attention, my intensity on what I'm doing. And I don't know, I think I'm running at only like a 60% success rate right now so far in the month, which I thought I'd do a lot better on it than I've done. I think most of the failed days have been because the thing I picked to treat like the last thing I'm going to do has, something has come up that has prevented me being able to work on it at all that day. So it's just kind of like, oh, well, crap. That's not going to work. But then there's a couple days where the thing I picked, I actually did it, and I did it really intensely, as if it were going to be the last thing I did. And I don't know, there's something about like choosing mentally, purposefully to focus with intensity on a specific task. There's something about it that made the task more enjoyable, less of a beating, less of I just got to do this work. It made it more of like, okay, this is a challenge to myself. Can I do this with the intensity of it being the last thing I would ever do? And so I guess that was what was surprising about it. Not only did I do the thing well, perhaps better than I might have done otherwise, but it changed my attitude about the thing I was doing to make the thing much more enjoyable to do. And this has happened a couple times. One of the first ones was, time with my son. One of the next ones was time with my daughter. And in both of those times, we're doing something that, that they were interested in doing, that I'm absolutely not interested in doing. But because these are my children, And because I chose to devote myself to this task, it actually turned out to be way more fun than it would have otherwise been. Then there's other things where, there's, I don't want to bore you with too many details, but I guess one more example would be I'm working on a welding project, learning TIG welding, because I think it's important to constantly learn new skills like that. And this project is just dragging on and sort of becoming a beating because of one reason or another. And so yesterday, I chose it as my thing. I was like, I'm going to make this welding project my bitch, and I'm going to do it as if it's the last thing I'm going to do alive on this planet. I made so much progress. The quality of my work was awesome. I learned a lot. I felt good about what I was doing. And I don't know, man, it feels good. So I'm definitely enjoying this challenge for the month. All right, guys. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have enough subscribers on this channel to have unlocked live streaming, and we can go back to the old way of doing things. All right, guys, have a great day.